Welcome back to the Bird Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Rowe. May is a month of movement. Through most of the month, you can find a new bird almost every day. Birds are moving through the state on their way to their breeding grounds. Some will stay here for the summer, and some will move on north to more adequate habitat. Not only are the birds moving to their breeding grounds, but the birds that stop during their migrations are full of movement. Flycatchers, gnatcatchers, and the fan favorite, warblers. These colorful little balls of energy are the topic of this month's episode. I'll be talking about some of the most common species that we find here and some tips for finding them easier. But first, events. Experience the iconic American West at the Jackson Hole Birding Festival. Explore the beauty of the wild Jackson Hole Valley and the stunning biodiversity of the greater Yellowstone region, rich in public lands, adventure, and more than 300 bird species. Join in for an unforgettable wildlife experience amid the spectacular Teton Mountains. Choose from 30-plus unique tours and experiences by day, hear fascinating presentations about bird and wildlife science and conservation work by night, and explore the dynamic community of Jackson, Wyoming. This event takes place May 27 to 30. Head over to jacksonholebirdingfestival.com to register. Iowa Young Birders will be hosting trips to Central Park in Center Junction, Iowa on June 13th and Jacob Crum Nature Preserve near Grinnell, Iowa on June 17th. Join podcast guest and executive director Tyler Harms and I as we search for summer breeding birds in these locations. This time of year offers great opportunities for viewing birds as they've settled into their summer homes. Go to iowayoungbirders.org/events to register. If you have any events that you would like advertised on the Bird Nerd Podcast, please email arowphoto3@gmail.com and use subject line birding events. Nothing goes better with an early rise for a day of birding than a warm cup of coffee. It honestly may even be the official drink of the sport. But wouldn't it be great if you could support bird conservation while enjoying a mug? Birds and Beans Coffee thought so too. That's why they developed their Smithsonian bird-friendly, certified free trade, and USDA organic line of coffees. Not only do they adhere to the stringent regulations that qualify them for these certifications, but 5% of each bag of coffee sold goes directly back to conservation. I've personally been enjoying their Scarlet Tanager Dark Roast. The bold, smooth flavor holds hints of chocolate. Their 6 roasts come in 12-ounce, 2-pound, or 3-bag options. They offer a variety of grind options, and you can set your order to automatically renew to whatever frequency you think you may need more coffee. Their 3-bag option is a great way to order if you drink a lot of coffee. They also have a 50-pack of their frac packs, great for offices and people who look for convenience. So, if you'd like to support bird conservation while enjoying quality coffee on those early mornings out, check out birdsandbeanscoffee.com and order yours today. Also, check out the Bird Nerd newsletter for a frac pack giveaway. Are you tired of the neck strain that comes with carrying your binoculars on a strap around your neck? This time of year especially can make those bins so heavy as we look up for energetic migrants. Maybe you're a young birder and that darn strap is just too long and your binoculars keep knocking your knees. Sparkbird harnesses may be the answer for you. Made of the highest quality elastic and leather and handcrafted right here in the United States. All harnesses are one size and have some stretch to accommodate your body. The standard size will fit youth ages 10 and up and most adults, and the kids size will fit most children's ages 7 to 10. Sparkbird harnesses come in a wide variety of color options, and custom combos can also be made. Support this woman-owned small business by purchasing your harness at sparkbirdlife.com today. Warblers are easily my favorite group of birds. Their colorful plumage and beautiful songs define the true end of winter and the transition into the breeding season. Not to mention the challenge that comes with identifying them as they bounce through the canopies and underbrush, somehow always staying just behind the leaves. I often hear from people that they never see any warblers or that they struggle to identify them when they do. They're definitely a group of birds that get easier the more time you spend with them. You begin to learn their patterns and anticipate their arrivals and movements through the trees. One of the nice things about this group of birds, at least here in Iowa, is that they seem to come in waves. I'm going to start today by describing some of the ones you might find in the first wave, anywhere from late March to mid-April. I won't be describing all of the warblers today because there are so many. One of the earliest species to arrive, and the one that sometimes stays through the winter, is the yellow-rumped warbler. Also called butterbutts, one of the defining features on them is their bright yellow rump that looks like a slab of butter. They're mostly gray overall, with a white underside that has some distinct streaking on the sides or flanks, and sometimes some little yellow highlights under their folded wings. These marks will be enough to identify this species positively, but depending on where you live in the United States, you might find one of two subspecies. The main feature separating the two subspecies is the color of their throat patch. The myrtle, the one I find here in Iowa and is more common in the east, has a white throat patch. The Audubon subspecies has a yellow throat patch. The next species that I typically find in the early parts of spring, and the one that pulls me out of the winter funk, is the northern parula. Seen more than they're heard, they are quite a beautiful bird. Their upper is mostly a light blue with a patch of yellowish green on their backs. This feature is not often seen. The underside is plain white with a yellow breast and throat patch. They have a partial white eye ring and 2 white wing bars. Their song is an easy ascending zip. Louisiana water thrush is next on my list. I am slightly leaning on my year list to decide the order of species that I discuss here. This is not a particularly colorful warbler species. They're more thrush-colored and display a more thrush-like behavior as well. Their backs are a dark brown and their underparts are white or off-white with dark streaks. They sport a thick white eye stripe and have bright pink legs. This warbler species spends more time along the ground and hidden in the low brush along the water's edge and have a fun rump bobbing behavior. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip a few descriptions of species here, but I will mention some other early migrants including the yellow-throated, Nashville, Tennessee, orange-crowned, and the recently renamed northern yellow warbler. Common yellowthroat is a warbler species that can be found in wooded areas with most other species, but I typically find it more often out in the open areas like prairies with shrub growth or on the edges of woodlands and prairies where there might be more shrubby growth or downed trees providing brushy cover. They have a distinct witchity 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 call. The males have a brown back with a slight yellow wash, a small white band across the top of their face, a dark black mask covering their eye like a Zorro mask, and a beautiful bright yellow throat as their name suggests. Females are more drab overall with a slight yellow patch on their throats and rumps. The black and white warbler may be the easiest species to describe. They're black and white with various streaks and stripes. They creep along the trunks and branches of trees looking for insects. Their call is a high-pitched squeaking noise that sounds like an old wheel in need of some oil. Now to another thrush-like warbler, the ovenbird is an orangish green on its back with small dark streaks on a white underside. They have a neat little orange stripe down the middle of their heads, bordered by small black stripes that they raise as a small crest when they are irritated. They spend a lot of time low to the ground and hidden in the underbrush. They create a domed nest on the ground that give them their name as it looks like an old-style oven. Their call is a teacher, 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 teacher that slowly gets louder as they go. I've spent some time with the ovenbirds in southern Missouri during my first field season when I was pursuing my degree. We were surveying breeding birds in differently managed forest stands to try and determine the best harvest and management practices for the widest range of species. Part of these surveys involved finding and monitoring nests. One of the first nests that I found that season was an ovenbird nest. I also got assigned nest monitoring duty every day that this nest needed to be checked. When I would arrive near the nest, I would always announce my presence and let the bird know that I was coming to check on her progress. I'd then sit and talk to her as I looked in on her eggs and babies and gave words of encouragement. On my final few nest checks, the ovenbird would pop just outside the nest and sit with me as I looked inside. She didn't perch and scold anymore, and I felt extremely special to be trusted by this bird. The next 3 species are true highlights when I find them in a year. The first in this group of species is the black-throated green warbler. More yellow than green covers the back and face of this warbler with a noticeably bright yellow pattern on their face. Their throat patch is a deep and heavy black with some light streaks down their flanks and breasts. Their call is a sweet and slightly raspy zee-zee-zee-zo-zee. Next will be the blue-winged warbler. Bright yellow overall with gray-blue wings sporting 2 white wing bars and a small black streak from the base of their beak just past their eye. A highlight of my summer in Missouri, their raspy little beep-bzz call reminds me of walking the roads back to the car during my field season as an early birder. They're a species I always missed in Kansas, but have found them here in Iowa the last few years. They pop around in the tree canopies searching for insects. The last species in this group is one that I planned a whole vacation around when I was just beginning to get into birding. The golden-winged warbler is a gray overall with striking patches of yellow on their head and wings, a black mask over their eye and throat patch, and white creating a nice face pattern and down their underside. They have a raspy 3 to 4 note call that I remember as golden-winged or golden-winged. Of course, I'm taking some liberties with these mnemonics, but whatever it takes to remember. The final group of warblers that I will discuss in this episode are all lower-dwelling birds, typically found on or near the ground or in the understory brush. Starting with the Kentucky warbler, they're a bright yellow that somehow camouflages very well in the understory. They have a black cap and face markings that create a yellow question mark pattern on their eye. Their call almost sounds like a northern cardinal or Carolina wren without any of the little trills that both of those species perform. Next is the hooded warbler. This species looks very similar to the Kentucky until you get to the face. Their black cap and throat patch create what looks like a little bandit hood with their yellow mask. They occupy similar habitats as well. Their call is a sweet "weeta weeta weetio." The final species for this episode is the Canada warbler. I chased this species for years before finding my lifer in the timber behind the house where I grew up. It's fun thinking that at one point growing up, I spent time exploring these same areas as this species without even knowing it. It's funny the things you don't notice until you do. This species has a nice dark gray back, subtle eye ring, black fringes where the gray meets the yellow on their face, and a black pearl necklace pattern across their chest over a field of yellow covering their whole underside. Their song sounds almost like a droid from Star Wars. Now, I know that this is by no means an extensive list of the warblers that you can find in the United States or even in Iowa. This list is just a good starting point and offers some easy to identify birds for beginners and a couple of challenge birds for more experienced birders. If I failed to mention your favorite warbler species, I apologize, and I'll try to get to them in another episode. I have absolutely no problem talking about warblers. If you have a favorite warbler, please be sure to comment with what your favorite is. I'm curious if there is any one species that stands out as an audience favorite. That wraps up this episode of the Bird Nerd Podcast. As always, if you have questions, events, or topics that you would like for me to discuss, please reach out by email at arowphoto3@gmail.com. Paid subscribers on Substack receive access to my chat page that is a great place to ask questions and interact with the bird nerd community. For a limited time, if you subscribe at the yearly rate, you will also receive a Bird Nerd logo pin. Great for any backpack, binocular strap, notebook case, or wherever you like to show your bird nerd pride. Also, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter to gain access to special giveaways from our sponsor, Birds and Beans Coffee. I'll be doing some giveaways of their frack packs, so make sure to subscribe to learn more on how to enter. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, be sure to follow for the most recent uploads and leave a review. This will help others find the show. I appreciate you listening to the podcast and for sharing it with any birdie friends you have. Good birding.